Welcome to Kindred, hosted by me, Kate, and my sister, Jen. In this podcast, we explore our human relationship to the natural world. In connecting to this planet, we also connect to understanding, compassion, and empathy. How can we see ourselves as not separate or above animals in nature, but a critical and integrated part of an active ecosystem? Through conversations with animal advocates, scientists, conservationists, and many others, we look to inspire a new awareness of how and why we connect to animals in nature in order to repair and restore our relationship to the natural world. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Kindred. What a glorious day we are having today. So
I see arms. I see arms on you.
We are pumped. I know. My skin isn't usually blue all the time, but a little bit of sun, it'll get a little tanner. It's okay.
It's just like the underbelly of a fish at this time of year. Mine too.
The color of your skin. Sometimes it's
a little bit blue.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit.
It's very pretty. So, so Jennifer, if you don't mind, we're just going to jump right in today.
Sounds great.
We have a little bit to cover, and I'd like to get through that. So today we are going to be talking about the beautiful pink flamingo, which is very exciting because I love these birds. I think they're super beautiful and interesting. So let's just get right to it. And our guest that we are talking about all things flamingos is Elly Albers. She's a naturalist and wild bird rehabilitator. And we wanted to talk to Elly because she lives and works on one of my favorite spots in the world, Bonaire Island, where flamingos also live. Originally, Elly was from the Netherlands, and she moved to Bonaire and worked in animal shelters. And she ultimately started her business, the Mangrove Info Center, where Elly and her team guide kayak and snorkel tours. And you can find out more about that at her website, mangrovecenter.com. And then in 2018, which you'll find out why, she founded Bonaire Wild Bird Rehab. And so I think, what did she say? She's been on the island for about 35 years, I believe.
That's what I think she said, yeah.
Yeah, and she worked in rescue when she first got there. I think maybe it was the pre-interview. She said, well, I went there for a year just to have a year away, and she's never looked back. So yeah, she worked in rescue and then ultimately. So, but the one thing I wanted to touch a little bit on is a bit of Bonaire history. So, Bonaire was colonized by the Netherlands in 1633. The Dutch took possession of Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, all just off the coast of Venezuela. And they are referred to as the ABC Islands. And Bonaire became a plantation for the Dutch West Indies Company. And when you visit Bonaire, you can still see enslaved people's huts on the beaches there. And I'll just say I've been to Bonaire many, many, many times. My husband is a diver, and it's one of the best dive locations, supposedly in the world. So, and boy, doesn't Bonaire know it. People are coming in droves and not leaving. So, but I have a lot of pictures of Bonaire, so I will post them through social media and all that kind of stuff. But I have pictures of these huts, and of course you'll be shocked how tiny they are. Bonaire wasn't necessarily part of the active slave trade, but of course there were enslaved people there working for the Dutch West Indies Company. I think Aruba was mostly the hub for slave trade, so there's some dark history there for sure. Mm-hmm. So the native peoples of Bonaire came from South America and are referred to as the Caquetio, which is spelled Caqueutio. So the Caquetio Indians. And I have this cool tile artwork that I brought back from Bonaire, and it's got all these different names for the different animals that feature there. and one is the Flamingo, and it's called the Chigogo. So we will be talking about the Chigogos today. And just to learn a little bit more Bonaire's history, you can check out, it's kind of like Bonaire's website, bonaireisland.com is a good resource. I also just wanted to talk about how eco-friendly Bonaire is, and that island works really hard to manage, support, and protect their wildlife and wild spaces. So it's an incredible place. And they have a lot of rescues. They have donkey rescues, which are a leftover result of colonization. Donkeys were brought in to build and all that kind of stuff. And
right.
So now they just kind of roam around the island. There's a lot of dogs left there from tourists coming and going. There are goats everywhere, but it's quite a beautiful island, and flamingos. So we're very excited to talk about them. But just a little admin before we head to the beautiful, warm, and truly soul rejuvenating island of Bonaire. If you'd like to stay in the loop with our Kindred community, sign up for our newsletter, where you can delve into the exclusive behind the scenes highlights, insights, discover upcoming episodes, learn how to support the podcast, and explore our latest guest features. Plus, dive into the latest reads and listens curated by myself and my lovely sister, Jennifer. And you can also subscribe through our website, kindredpodcast.co. So let's head down to the Caribbean, get on your bikini, pull out your snorkel, put on some eco water-friendly skin care, and let's go learn about the long-legged supermodels that are the Pink Flamingo. Elly, welcome to Kindred, and thank you so much for speaking with us today. Would you please introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
My name is Elly, and I live on Bonaire, and I work for the Bonaire Wild Bird Rehab. And the main thing we do is rehabilitate wild animals, wild birds in particular.
So, Elly, you live on one of my favorite spots in the world, the beautiful island of Bonaire, like you said, and have been rescuing and rehabilitating birds of many different species, like you said, for many years. And one of those species that lives on Bonaire is the flamingo. Chigogo is what native people connected to the island call them, I believe.
I love that. I love that. I think that's very cute.
Yeah, it's great. So we wanted to talk about flamingos because we find a species like them quite niche, meaning there are not a lot of them, they're super unique, and there isn't a lot known about them in the general public. I mean, although everybody knows one when they see one, right? They're super identifiable. They show up in our yards, in our yard art, and they show up in fashion design on our clothing, and are generally like a celebrated animal. So combined with the combined love for Bonaire and interest in this exquisite animal made you the perfect person to speak with. So thanks so much for being here today.
You're welcome.
So let's just start with you, if that's okay. Tell us a little of your history and how you came to be in wildlife rehabilitation. What brought you to Bonaire, and how did you come to start the Bonaire Wild Bird Rehab?
Actually, the Bonaire Wild Bird Rehab was just founded in 2018, so pretty recent. My history is going far back. Let me see. I think I'm 35 years on Bonaire now, so
Great.
A lot of things have changed. And the first things I did on Bonaire, if you talk about animals, it was the animal shelter. I worked for 6 years there, and it was all in the beginning. And after that, I founded the Animal Welfare Foundation, because there was not a foundation who was taking care of that. And from there, actually, I rolled into the birds. We always did birds on the side. But then in 2017, we had an oil spill on Bonaire, and the Foundation National Parks asked me if I could help with washing and rehabilitating the birds from the oil spill.
Okay.
And I was not experienced at all. So
Right.
sent all these protocols. And the Foundation National Parks put up a lot of cages, and we had no clue how many birds were coming in. And this is actually a funny story because we did not know a lot about the whole procedure, how to wash. And even if you read certain procedures to do it, it's a total different thing. So we cleaned the birds, and they survived. And after a few weeks, I was like, okay, what do we have to do with the birds now? Are they waterproof? So we asked the local veterinarian, and we said, can we release them? And he said, I think so. So I was like, okay, in case, let me send an email to a foundation in Europe, Sea Alert. And there's also, and they said, you did what?
Oh, geez.
Uh-oh.
And in 3 days later, they sent somebody from Holland. Everything was paid by the government in Holland. And that person came with pools and all kinds of materials. And I got like a crash course in 10 days, how to, the proper way, how you have to wash, how you have to waterproof, tube feedings, everything like that. And those birds were successfully released. And we still had all the cages.
Right.
And what I did not tell you, the Mangrove Info Center, that's the building actually in front of the bird rehab.
Oh, great.
That's my company. And so that company was supporting all of this. And then what happened in 2018, we got like flamingo chicks all over the streets in Bonaire. And we talk about 450 birds in 3 months.
Wow.
And of course, I had the cages, and I had really no clue about flamingos.
Yeah, but talk about learning by, what is it, water from a fire hose? My gosh.
Yeah. So the good thing is I got all the connections because of the oil spill the year before. So I got all the connections with the bird rehabilitation centers. And so I immediately reached out like, oh, help, what do we have to do? They don't have flamingos in Holland, but they connect me with the zoos in Holland. Those veterinarians, they did have knowledge. And and I think me and a whole group of volunteers did a great job.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Like success rate. Yeah, but there were many things we had to learn.
Well, of course, and it sounds like it sort of was a bit. You had that terrible perfect storm of like the government's asking, Bonaire's asking you to do that, and so then you got sort of infused with support and money so that you could do that. And so I just want to clarify too that you mentioned the Mangrove Center and that you do tours taking people out into the mangrove on Bonaire, which I did with some of my family years ago. So you and I were saying, I bet we've met before. So you've got the Mangrove Center in the front, and then you've got the rehab in the back. And the Mangrove Center was there before the bird center. Is that correct?
The Mangrove Center was there, and because it's my company, I had space behind the company.
Yeah, no, that's great.
But the funny thing is, it's like that time we still did not have a foundation, so I did not ask for fundings. And Mangrove Center I just took all the money out of the company.
Yeah, right. And well, that's the difference. It's like a business, and the one's a nonprofit, right? So that makes sense. That's a whole different world.
So then the cost was getting so high. Then they said, like, we can support you, but you need to be legal. You need to be a foundation. So then we founded the foundation in 2018, and that way we could also raise money to do this instead of emptying the company.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah. So you can still live. Yeah, right.
Right. So you actually do. More efficient and have more support and more funds. So That's an amazing story. Wow, what a way to get started with this. And this is how it happens. I feel like a lot of stories, like people are like, well, there's a need and we have to fill it, and we were the ones to do it. So this is where I am today, 35 years later.
Yeah.
But it's like people like you who are really making the world go round, where you step up to this challenge and this need. So it's incredible to me. So we are here to talk about flamingos. So I want to talk a bit about just like the physiology, the behavior of flamingos. And I think, and you'll correct me, but I think there are 6 species that exist today. The flamingos that are on Bonaire are called the American flamingo. And these birds, they have some quite surprising and unique attributes. And I think it's mostly why we love them so much. So tell us about the pink flamingo, why they look like they do, their behavior, and their personalities.
Oh, where to start? First of all, a lot of people get confused when they see gray flamingos. And that's the first step, because the flamingo will just get his pink color between the 3rd and the 4th year. Before that, they're grayish. So people sometimes ask me, like, what is this? Are they on a bad diet? No, they're not.
Are they sick? Right.
Yeah.
I've never seen a gray one. I guess I've only seen mature ones then.
Right.
Yeah. So, the first 3 up to 4 years, you will see them like slowly coloring more pink. Of course, if they are mature and they are gray, then it has to do something with their diet. But in the normal way, they just be pink. When they're actually sexual mature.
Right, and that makes sense for a lot of species too. For birds, they look different. Their feathers, are different as adolescents and babies. So that makes sense.
A lot of times that's like a survival thing, because if they were bright pink as babies, they'd be probably easier to
Good point.
For predators, right?
Good point. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Carry on.
That's okay. When you talk about flying, in the beginning, of course, they don't have feathers yet, and just because of documentation, we found out that when they become like 8 weeks, then the first flying feathers starting to develop, and normally around 12, 13 weeks they are able to fly already.
Wow.
So
that's astounding to me, because they're so awkward. Like, okay, yeah, that's amazing. Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's important for them to survive, that as soon you can fly, the better. Because they're not really good at running with those long legs.
So are they born are their legs that long when they're born, or do they grow? As I was curious about that. Little babies have the really long legs? Okay.
Aww. Yeah, if you compare it to the body, absolutely. Also, the babies are born with like a straight bill, and the straight bill is really handy, because the way the parents are feeding, it will be difficult if they both have like a curved bill. So the babies, as long as they're being fed by the parents, they have a straight bill, and then when they become older, like becoming around 3 months, they're more curved, and that way they can do the filter feeding.
Interesting. Wow, that is so interesting. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Also, there are different ways of them to feed, and the babies don't have all the skills yet. So the babies normally are more on a plant-based diet, and that's also why they don't color that fast in the pink, because the lack of keratin.
Oh, wow.
And then later they learn how to go for the brine shrimp or the brine flies, and then you see all these patterns of feeding.
Yeah, right. So I just want to touch on one thing that you had mentioned, was you said filter feeding. And as adults, I just wanted to sort of point this out for people, because I found this really surprising, is that flamingos are filter feeders, which makes them eco-engineers or ecosystem engineers. And something, I guess they modify the sediments somehow. I'm not really sure in the research I did, but just to sort of compare them, other filter feeders are predominantly marine animals like whales, some fish, plankton, oysters, clams, mussels, some types of reptiles. And I think that was so interesting to me in preparing for our conversation to learn that they're filter feeders. It just seems so unique to them.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so interesting. So tell us about a little bit of like their behavior and I don't know, I guess what I would call their personalities.
Yeah, it's I think that I can divide them in like prototypes. It's funny. There are flamingos. They come in like as a baby, and they are really scared, really shy, and they will always be that way. There are also flamingos after the first feeding. It's like they see you as a ball of food for the rest of their life. So they will try to avoid the normal food. They will just chase you for the food. So it's really different.
Yeah.
What is a really interesting thing, what I saw over the years, and I really don't have an explanation for it. The first flamingos we got in 2018, they were all pretty shy. And what we see now is that the flamingos we're getting in like last year, they almost look like they already used to the rehab. And it's kind of funny. They're more relaxed, less stressed. That's really interesting. It's like, I don't know, it's maybe they communicate in a way. I have no clue, but.
So are you saying that birds that you've not met come in are starting to act a little more relaxed around humans, like in this human sort of environment? Or are these ones that you had cared for, released, and now are back?
No, what I was telling you was that the birds brought in to the rehab because they need help.
Wow.
It looks like they're more relaxed.
That is so interesting.
The funny thing is that a veterinarian in Curacao gave me a call last year, and she said, I have a juvenile here, but it looks so like tame. Did you release some? And I said, if I release them, I will give them a band. So if it doesn't have a band, no. Wow. So I was not the only one who noticed.
It's really interesting. Well, maybe you'll learn as you go along for the next 35 years. I mean, that is really fascinating, really fascinating. So, and in learning about some of these attributes of the flamingo, with some of their, glam comes challenges. And I feel like we're headed in that way, this conversation. But for instance, when we last spoke, you talked about their color might contribute to their prey experience. So what are some of the biggest threats that flamingos are facing on a small island like Bonaire?
Yeah, I think first of all, the water quality. Of course, a lot more people are living on the island now. So the water quality is getting less good. Then the question is that the food source will be still the same. Also, of course, their feeding grounds sometimes are being developed. Bonaire is pretty good in a way that they try to protect as many land as possible. I think like half of the island it's protected, but then still we have also quite some Ramsar sites, so international protected wetlands on Bonaire. So they really do their best. I think the biggest threat beside the water quality is also disturbance of people, because these are with everybody wants a picture on their social media. So people enter places where flamingos are to make their picture. They scare them. And if you're not camouflaged, then I think your only survival tool is flying away. So if you scare them many times, then they will not go back to certain places. And there are places who are really important for them. For example, on the road close to the Wild Bird Rehab, there is a place with fresh water, groundwater coming out. Flamingos can filter salt out of the water, but they always prefer fresh water. And you always see at that particular spot the whole day, you see a lot of flamingos flying in from all over the place to drink the fresh water. Now, and people pass the place, and even though we have many signs like do not enter and all kinds of languages, people just ignore it because they want to go for that one picture. So that's a big threat for an island like Bonaire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Boy, yeah. We've talked to other people dealing with other wildlife where people, the same thing, either the picture or they want to own a jaguar, so that they can put the pictures on the social media or whatever. It just is like, it's so out of control right now. Hopefully it will come around and not be so bad in the future, because it just is, it's a new thing we're having to deal with, I feel like, or wildlife is having to deal with, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
And it's just like, I think it's just the lack of knowledge with understanding. This is why when I talk to people like you, because like, if you're going to take a selfie with a flamingo, you are going to disrupt them. And if you disrupt them enough times, like you were saying before when we talked, Elly, they won't return to that area. They learn very quickly, and wildlife will do that. And the interruption and the disruption can cause a different version of habitat loss. And one thing I just wanted to tell people too, just to go back for a second, Elly, about the water quality you were talking about. There are very clear signs on Bonaire saying there's very specific types of sunscreen that is water like safe. And I think thinking about how many people are coming into the island now, it's like tripled its size in however many years, but there's literally like Bonaire is like, please don't use this type of, certain types of sunscreen because people are getting in the water. That's also a disruption for a lot of different animals. It's fairly finely tuned, but on a small island like Bonaire, these kind of things make a huge impression. And you had mentioned, their shyness as well combined with that. And then I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the food imprinting. You had talked to me about when we spoke in our pre-interview. Tell us about that.
Let me get one step back.
Okay.
The sunscreen.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to create awareness about what you put in your body. Not even the sunscreen is hormone-based, so bad for your own health. But also, these are days the commercials around sunscreen are really misleading. For example, Reef Safe is just a brand, and then all the bad stuff you don't want in the water is in that type of sunscreen. And they make it really hard to read what's really in the sunscreen. They only say like there's no let's say something. That a certain thing is not in there, but then all the rest of the bad stuff is in there. So it's really misleading. And if people want to use that sunscreen, they really have to study and see what is something safe for the ecosystem, and also for yourself.
Yeah, no, thank you for highlighting that. I appreciate it. So it's so critical.
Yeah, go back to your question about the imprinting on food. That's correct. I think they are imprinted on the places where they can find the food. For example, we have many cases, probably 85% of what we release it back to the breeding grounds. Not into the breeding grounds on a safe distance, not to disturb the rest of the group. And then 85% flies back to the wild bird rehab. While they were like wrapped up, put in a kennel. So I guess it's somewhere in their GPS where the food is, and they fly back in.
That's amazing. And you were saying like juveniles keep coming back, and you're like, no, just it's okay, everybody. They're going to leave at some point, but where you feed them, these babies, they kept coming back as adolescents, and then one day you're like, suddenly they're gone and it's fine. But I thought that food imprinting was really fascinating, and I had not thought of that. And that's another thing where it's just part of the challenges that they're facing. I just think it can be overwhelming on such a small space. And before we started, we were talking about water quality. an oil spill event just recently happened on Bonaire. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yes. Right now, there's only one part of the coastline who's affected. The flamingos are in the wetlands, so they are not on coastlines.
Okay.
So they should be fine. There's no feeding activity in the coastline, but of course everything is connected. We don't know what it will do with the food source into the wetlands.
Right.
But yeah, so we don't know.
Well, and it may not be affecting them, but you take care of lots of species of birds, right? So there's water birds that I'm sure there are being affected, and I'm hoping, we hope the best, because oil spills are no joke. And you talked about earlier, an oil spill way back, but it is something that Bonaire has to deal with often. So we hope you have the best of luck there. The other thing you had talked about, and I just want to mention it, is because we all know, the pink flamingo, you were saying that, again, like, because of their color, they attract so much attention, and it sort of ties into that the impact that has as a prey animal on them, and combined with their shyness. I thought that was really interesting too.
Yeah, I think that's how nature works. And it's also the flamingos who are returning in the morning for food. There's always a small group. They are only relaxed in that particular spot. The moment they fly out and you will see them in a different area, they will just fly away. They
Yeah. And speaking of flying out, you had also mentioned something to me about that flamingos on Bonaire every night fly to Venezuela, which is very close. But still, they fly there for night, they feed, and then they come back the next day to meet their babies and feed them. Is that like an ongoing thing that they do throughout their lives?
Yeah, it's an ongoing thing. We do not have data if one particular flamingo is doing that every night. Hopefully soon we will have a project so we can track one flamingo and then get more insight in their patterns. Right now, every day around sunset, there's a big group of flamingos collecting, always on the southeast of the island. And you will see flying them over direction of Venezuela. What also is really nice is that, and you say it's a short distance, yes. Falcon is close, but there are many other parts who are like farther away. We have birds who are 400 kilometers away from Bonaire.
Wow. And,
even juveniles, 3 months old, who fly all the way from here straight to the parks. And yesterday...
Is that because of this food imprinting you were talking about, or is there better food there? Why would they do that rather than just find food on Bonaire? There isn't the same amount of food? Is that why? I'm curious.
I don't know, because there are no research. Definitely there must be more food, maybe less disturbance. Venezuela also is a large country, a rich country in the way of nature. So I don't know if it's an imprinting and that the food quality is still good there, better than Bonaire. I don't know.
Wow.
But the breeding grounds are not in Venezuela, but on Bonaire.
So interesting.
Amazing. Yeah. So basically they could fly 300 to 400 kilometers every 24 hours.
Yeah, I don't know. They can fly that. But I don't know if they do that's like a whole week every day. I don't know.
That's incredible.
Yesterday I got another picture sent from Venezuela with one of the bands, and really happy. I think it's the 11th documented case, and one of the juveniles we did a soft release, so we released it at the bird rehab in June 2023 and was sighted yesterday in Venezuela. So that's
incredible.
News. Yeah, and one of the parks.
That's amazing. So speaking of banding, let's talk about that. Like when when we last spoke, you were saying that as far as you know, not much, like you're just saying, not much research is being done on the flamingos of Bonaire. So what programs have you implemented to track these birds in gaining better understanding of their behavior and patterns and hope to, of course, support them better? Does Bonaire Wild Bird Rehab have any educational or outreach programs in the communities about flamingos and sensitivity or other birds at all on the island?
Yes and no. It's not one of the goals in the foundation, but for example, last year I did the school television about birds of Bonaire. Yeah. And so it's a 1 hour video for kids, also made with kids. And every school can has a copy. So in that way, we try to help and to educate, but we cannot have visitors. I do not allow visitors. We get many.
No, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Also schools.
Disruptive to the birds, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's wild birds. It will not help their recovery when we have visitors.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So tell us more about the banding. When did you start doing that, and what does that actually mean?
Yeah, the banding I started because, first of all, in the beginning when we did a release and we got flamingos back, I never knew exactly who was in already, who was never in. They kind of look the same, you know?
Yeah.
So sometimes we had birds brought in by the rescue, and then they started to eat their pellets out of the bowl right away. And I was like, oh, this is not your first time. You look like, you got a free ride. So the banding really helped me to see what is successful. So how, with what weight we have to release them. What's the minimum we have to keep them? What's the maximum we have to keep them? The places where we release them, how we release them, what's successful, what's not. So then you can collect data. So that's why I started to do the banding.
Does each bird have a number, or do you just band them just so you know they've already been, or do you number them so you can track them?
Right? Is it like number or tracking device? That's a good question.
Yeah, we have 2 bands. One is an official band from an organization in Holland. It's a band you can look up in the database. But what I personally prefer is we have the white-yellow bands, and they're visible when they're standing in the water, and they have big letters. And from a big distance with binoculars, you can see the number.
Oh,
that's
nice.
so smart. That's so smart, especially because they're such sensitive animals, right? It'd be hard to catch them, and how disruptive.
Yeah, we will not do that. No. And also what they, for example, do in Mexico is they collect all the babies and then band all the babies. And in events like that, a lot of birds are getting hurt, damaged, or even need to be euthanized because of science. And I'm very happy that our government will not do that, and the government is supporting the banding program. Also, they financing it, so they buy the bands, and I share the database with them, so everybody will be happy that we can do it this way.
Yeah, I was thinking about that, like how much research and data you're gaining by just doing this, and how valuable that must be to flamingo, ecologists or biologists, whatever it is, like around the world. They must be interested in that information, and also that it takes a lot of money to do this banding, and you only have a certain amount of resources to do all this. It's a big challenge, I would think. Yeah,
but it's at least teaching me a lot. The only thing is, one day I need to find time to write all this information down I learned in the last few years.
Well, maybe that's where a volunteer needs to come in and be like, listen, you can live on this beautiful island for a year. You you put all this data and research together and live here. I mean, who doesn't want to do that job for you?
Yeah, but most things are in my head, it's not even written down. So
well, that's true. So we just need you, actually. Sorry, it's all you again. Just another. Well, I think the head of a rehab nonprofit wears many hats, right? And you never stop working, so it's another big challenge.
Yeah, I always said it's the most stupid thing I ever did in my life, because I wanted to work less, and now it's 24/7.
Yeah,
but I guess that's
Listen, that's the price you pay for what 30/85 degrees every single day. I mean, if don't anyone go there, though. There's enough of people there. Let's not talk about how great Bonaire is, because everyone's going. It's terrible for everybody. So you poor Bonaireans anyway. So is there anything like that we haven't talked about that you think is really essential for us to know about the flamingo, or any kind of what your favorite parts of this species?
Yeah, I think there are a few fun facts. First of all, we always think that the knees are bending the wrong way.
Right.
But those are not knees, those are ankles. That's one thing.
So that's a very large foot they have.
Their ankles are very high, yes.
With toes at the end.
Because it's that's where it's a joint, and lower there are no joints anymore. So that's why it's not the knee. The knee is way up high.
Okay.
So that's a fun fact. Not that we can do anything with it, but it's fun.
I love it.
Yeah. The other thing, what I think, it's when there are a lot of baby flamingos, chicks, and then we talk about whatever 2-3 weeks old up to 11 weeks. They have their own call. So when they're used to me with feeding, there are only a few people doing the tube feedings in our team. Also, you need a calm energy. You also need to do it the right way. Otherwise, you can even kill the bird. But the moment they hear my voice, and I live next door, when they hear my voice, then all the chicks start having their own voice. And after a few weeks, I know exactly which chick makes which call. So at home, it's talking to my dogs or something in the morning. Then you hear next door in the cages, you hear all these wah, wah, wah.
So that's cute.
My gosh!
You can tell which one is which. That's very interesting. They have different. Yeah.
Well, when you spend enough time with them, I guess you just get to, like any mother does, you get to know the different babies' calls. That is very cute.
But it's also how, for example, when the chicks on the breeding grounds are growing bigger, then the parents are leaving them to look for food. And then you only have a few nannies. So you have all these gray chicks, a few nannies in bright pink, and then the rest of the group is gone. But then you have to find your own chick. So they better make a special sound, otherwise you won't get food. They need to know. Yeah, so every parent do know the call of their own baby.
That's so interesting. The fact that they have nannies. Do you know, I'm glad you mentioned that, because when they're all flying off to feed somewhere else, like I was like, who's taking care of the babies? So they have nannies. Are they who's the nanny? Like their big sister or big brother, or are they not necessarily related? Who gets that job?
It's just they're mature birds, and the older the chicks are getting, the less big the group of nannies is. It's really funny to see.
Yeah, they need less supervising when they get older. That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah.
That's very clever.
That is very cute. Oh my gosh, I love this bird even more now. And this is why it's so important to talk to someone like you to get this insight to these very sensitive, very sweet, very beautiful. But this is part of their personality, hearing about the babies and everything, and knowing calls, and they have nannies. I think it's just so important to get a bit of depth with such a conspicuous, very well-known species. So I love that. That's so cute. I'm going to get online now and look for baby flamingo calls. Hear what they sound like.
I probably can send them to you.
Please do.
Also, we are romanticizing the flamingo, but on the other hand, they have a really, how do you say that in English? Like a picking order, like dogs, like a
hierarchy.
Yeah. And for example, you cannot just, if you have a few flamingos in the cage and you want to add one, you cannot.
That sounds a little bit like chickens. I know I have friends who have chickens, and there's definitely that.
Very territorial.
Yeah, they can really be brutal to newcomers. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Yeah. And
all right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, Elly, our last question is, we ask this of all of our guests, but why is this an important conversation from your perspective? Like, how are we changing the narrative? Like you're saying, like glamorizing this species, but how are we changing the narrative that flamingos are just beautiful birds and don't have a lot of significance otherwise, and giving us a deeper sense of connection to them?
I think it's a difficult question. What I do like to mention is that we people, because it's a beautiful bird in our eyes, for me, there's no difference between a pigeon and a flamingo. I told you that before, because you cannot say, because you cannot say that if you're not beautiful, then you don't deserve the care.
Right.
Right. So I don't do that. Yeah. I can give you an example of what's happening right now in Aruba and in Dominican Republic. These birds, because people are really attracted to them, these birds are being used to attract tourists. And in the Dominican Republic, for example, they, even if it's not allowed by law, they were poached, sold to hotels, to farms, and for years, just to attract people. And the wings are clipped, they're having a terrible life, they're eating the bad food. So the good news is that now, because that's the good thing of social media, you can also create awareness. There is a group of people now who went to the government, and the government now is funding it, but all the flamingos from the hotels are being removed. And it's a project going on right now. So that is absolutely great. But in the Dominican Republic, they're finally trying to solve this. But on the other hand, Aruba, an island who's really close to us, you probably know Aruba, they started to open these islands where you can rent a place on the beach and walk with flamingos. And the bird is not even native to Aruba. Aruba has no breeding grounds.
Right.
So these are illegal birds. So my message for people from outside is like the same with dolphins. You do not want to pay to see flamingos. You don't want to support this kind of.
No, you don't want to. You might want to be. You might want to, but you shouldn't, because it's exploiting them. As the same as swimming with dolphins or swimming with jaguars or any of that. These wild animals don't want to do that with us, and we've got to educate people that it's not appropriate, and or like anything like Egypt, riding horses to the pyramids. You can take a car. There are other ways to do it, but unfortunately, when money is involved, people get excited. They don't think it through. So
I hadn't thought that through either. It's just another version. So this is basically like wildlife trafficking is what you're talking about, Elly.
Yeah, and I'm with two friends working on the Aruba case right now.
Okay.
Because probably those flamingos are from our colony, and
how
so
are they
it
getting
cannot
them?
be that we are raising them and then other people in Venezuela trapping them and then illegally transporting them to Aruba, because there are no permits. Caribbean flamingos are protected and there are no permits. So for the people who want to see flamingos, don't go to Aruba to see flamingos. Come to Bonaire. You can see them in the wild.
They're not supposed to be. I don't know about. That's interesting. Yeah.
Maybe don't stay at a hotel that has them walking around in their made, these hotels. So that's really important. I didn't know that.
It's funny because people say we love flamingos, and then you do the opposite.
Yeah. Right.
Right.
We don't have a right to just do that, but we think we do. Yeah, we love flamingos, right?
So we want to see them
And
where we
send
go.
them free.
Yeah.
If we love them, we send them free.
That's right. And support them in their natural habitat, right? So
leave them alone is actually what you should be doing.
Yeah. And I think, I love that you brought this up with this question, Elly, because I really think it echoes through so many different conversations we've had. And I think it's, again, why we want to know more about these specific species that are highly visible, but we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. And right. And I think your perspective is so valuable, and it really gives us time to stop and think, what are the ways that we outside of these spaces can help support this species that are highly vulnerable? And so speaking of support, Elly, how can we contact you or support your work at the Rehabilitation Center?
I should have this ready for you. I do not.
Can we do, is it just like via your website?
If actually the bird rehab doesn't have a website yet, it's on my list, but every time there are other priorities.
Okay.
But if you go to the website of Mangrove Center, www.mangrovecenter.com, there will be a page under Bonaire Wild Bird Rehab, and there is a direct link. People can make a donation.
Absolutely. So that's great. You just go to the Mangrove Center, and we will put these links to that website. It's all embedded in that website. So if you go there, you can find that. And like you said, there's a donation button that you can push. And I'm assuming, any bit counts. And I would say also in support of islands like Bonaire that are very small, highly sensitive, please do your due diligence when you go to either dive or snorkel, because it's well known for that. Please look into proper tourist etiquette when you're dealing with a biosystem and an ecosystem that is very sensitive like Bonaire, and go visit the Mangrove Center. And I'm sure you have a lot of information there that people can help with, and you give incredible tours of the mangroves. I highly recommend that. It's a beautiful kayak through some quiet, serene, peaceful marine landscape. We very much love the island. So Elly, thank you so much for joining us today. We so appreciate your time and your perspective and the incredible work you're doing to keep one of these niche species and beautiful spots in the world as healthy as possible. So thanks so much.
I want to add one more thing.
Please.
Yeah, there are no people on the salary list. So the bird rehab, all the money will go only to the animals. So no people will be paid from it. So that's also a good thing to know.
Okay. Well, thanks for adding that.
Voluntarily help.
Yeah. Although I wish you were getting paid. That would be great. If we could give you more, maybe some people could have a better, you deserve to be paid. But thank you for adding that. But Elly, thanks again for your time. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And how do you say goodbye in Bonairean? I don't know, have an amazing day like you're going to have.
Passa douche dia.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Well, we hope to talk to you another time. We will definitely keep track of what's going on down there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to The Takeaway. So just a couple things I want to go over. I love this conversation, and Elly kind of was like, oh, I didn't know that about that. So a little aha moments, which is always great. Yeah. I'll just say what I'm referring to is talking about the illegal wildlife trafficking of flamingos. Of course, everything I'm sure is trafficked. This is what we're learning, right? If it's beautiful or interesting or you want to put it in your tea, this is going to get trafficked. It's just I didn't really realize, you and I were talking about earlier, they're not they're not native to Aruba, where she was talking about, so now I'm like, okay, really what I think we need to do, start doing more of is just really planning our travel with proper tourist etiquette in mind. And I think this, for me, I just need to get that more in my brain, which is there. But now I know that if I go to an island or a Caribbean place, or anywhere in the world, find out if they're like, are there supposed to be flamingos there? Because like you and I were saying, we wouldn't have known that, because the ABC Islands, Aruba, Curacao, Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao, they're all right there. I would never have known they weren't native to Aruba.
Right. And I mean, there's no way to know if you don't have somebody tell you, or if you don't do research. And I think that exactly thing is that so much of this is just, it's not a one-off that this happens here and this is a thing. Like, there's so many things, there's so many people we talk to that with traveling, just all the things we don't think about because we just don't know, and just how much damage we can do in acting out of ignorance. And just that's just what keeps getting reinforced to me, is just that it's the bigger picture is, like you said, probably everything's being trafficked. We just have to think in a different, well, now I will too, again, for sure. Was like, we've heard it before, but it still was surprising to me yet again. So it's like, oh, it's kind of going to be everything that, like, how we interact with animals, we need to think about, you know? Even just like from working at the wildlife clinic, like, wild animals don't want to interact with people.
Really, most of the time, not.
They don't want to. Sometimes you see people who sit outside in their backyard with birdseed in their hand, and after 6 months, a bird comes and lands in their hand and takes the food. But it's still not because it wants to interact with the person. It wants the food.
Right. You're right. You know, and I like that you said full stop, because actually I'm like, well, you're right. It is full stop. It totally is. And I think we do need to get that in our brains. And it doesn't mean they don't need our help sometimes. Like, sometimes animals need our help, but like to want to cuddle with them and hold them and take pictures of them and all that stuff, they don't want that. Well, and just how disruptive, right? Like, to that picture taking thing, like,
right.
And again, to learn about something that's a really highly sensitive species, like the flamingo, like, people, we have to know that if we're going to walk into their space enough times, this is where we're taking away their habitat, because they will learn, don't go to that place.
It's dangerous,
and it may be and they may go back. You may never go back there, or people might stop doing that, but it doesn't mean that this is now imprinted on the species. They won't go back there, and that affects their health and their habitat.
And maybe where they have babies and mate, and all of it. So things. Anyway, it just is.
And it's just like, is it not hard enough? They fly every overnight all the time, 400, 500 kilometers.
Yeah,
like, this is enough. Like, do you think I'm driving somewhere every night that far to bring food back for anything that I love, that I feed? Nope, not happening. So
exactly.
Yes, it's just, again, like you're saying, just sort of pound this into my head and just be less ignorant. Do our due diligence and research, and and again, I wanted to touch on also going to an island that is eco-friendly. Like, they're highly aware. They hold the habitat for they're very pro wildlife. They're very protective, and they're a tiny island. It only takes an hour to drive from the south to the north. It's not, or 2 hours maybe. I don't know. It's just not that big, and there's a lot going on. And I was talking to Kat, and she's like, "Wait, can you explain this sunscreen thing?" Because she's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Well, sunscreen that we put on our bodies and then we go swimming in the water affects these microorganisms that live in the water, and these are what flamingos eat, right? So that's where it's like, we need to do our research and understand where you're going. If there are signs saying do not enter, it's for an absolute reason. Go to another place. Right. So thank you to Elly for sharing her time.
Yeah,
and just
great.
Right, like, just years her hands-on experience. I think when she gets all that information out of her brain on paper, like she was saying, I think she's implementing programs, to support the research of birds like the flamingo with her branding program and her work in the illegal trafficking, world for the birds. And I think one day she's going to get all the info down, and other researchers are going to be like, there's this lady on Bonaire that's been doing this work for 35, 45, hopefully a lot of years, as long as she wants to. Just a beautiful human. So thanks so much to Elly. We so appreciate the chat. And again, if you want to find more out about her work, you can go to their website, and you can find the Bonaire Wild Bird Rehab embedded in her Mangrove Center, which is mangrovecenter.com. So you can get on that. And then it just, on the left-hand side, it says Bonaire Wild Bird Rehab, and there's a donate page. Literally every little bit counts. So, and if you end up going to Bonaire, absolutely take her mangrove tour. We took it years ago, and Elly and I were thinking, like, we must have met. And it's just a beautiful, quiet, you just get in a kayak and you just sort of cruise through the mangroves, and it's beautiful. And she does snorkeling tours, which is, you don't even have to dive to see the beautiful underwater wildlife. Is just astounding down there. It's like a whole other world. So that is Elly's website. For us, you can join our Kindred community by subscribing to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, and you gain early access to episodes and exclusive content through our Kindred Plus, all the while supporting our small independent production. And make sure you check out links in the show notes to subscribe, and also the links connected to the episode. And that is via our website, kindredpodcast.co. So thank you, my Kindred team, for getting this episode together, like every episode. Thanks, my co-host, Peanut Gallery Sister. Thank you so much.
Happy to do it.
Very good. Lucky. And again, thanks to Elly for the work she does and keeping this world going around in a healthy, balanced way. So thanks, everyone, for listening. Please share this episode. Let's get to some conscious travel, and lots of love.
Bye.
Kindred is hosted by me and my sister Jen, produced by Kat Gaddy and myself, sound production and editing by Dan Cooper, original music by Ellie Grace, and our Kindred artwork was created by Lindsay Coffin. Please follow, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts, and feel free to contact us through our website at kindredpodcast.co, where you can also find details about Kindred Plus, our subscription service, as well as links to our social media accounts and show notes.